Hello and welcome everyone. Today I am here with a very special guest, Mr. Reg Harbeck. He has joined us all the way from Canada and he is known for his expertise for the Z Mainframe technology. Not only this, he is the first IBM champion from Canada for the Z Mainframe technology. There are plenty of things that we can learn from him, so I'll not take much time and we will start the discussion. But just before that, I'd like to thank once again Reg for joining us today. And we are happy to have you here. And now I'm going to request him to initiate this discussion with his introduction. And also, please tell us something about your professional journey.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sharmit. It's a pleasure to be on here. Um, I am just so impressed with the increasingly important role. It was already important, but increasingly important role that India is playing in the world of IT, including the world of mainframe. And so I'm really pleased to be able to do this. Um, my background begins, my first computer was in my last year of high school, was an Apple II computer. And that really changed my direction. I was thinking I would get a degree in math, but I ended up getting a computer science degree instead. Interestingly, my computer science degree didn't include any mainframe, even though the university I went to had mainframe. And so my first few jobs were actually early PC jobs before Windows. And then back in 1987, I got my first mainframe jobs as CICS or KICS systems programmer. And I worked for a number of organizations, government organizations, software companies, and eventually went out on my own and co-founded a company with my late wife in 2011. That company, Mainframe Analytics, is still my vehicle for doing business. During all that time, I've traveled around the world. I've dealt with every different kind of mainframe technology and gotten quite in depth on a range of things, including security and automation. I've been very involved with the mainframe ecosystem community, including organizations such as Share and the IBM Champions organization, of course. I've written a great deal about the mainframe, presented a lot, and I'm easy to find. I'm the only Reg Harbeck on the internet. So if you want to see what I've been up to, you can Google that up. So Sharmit, anything else you want me to include that I forgot?
Yeah, sure. You're right. I just checked all your profiles and your social media platforms. So I noticed that you have worked up on various projects and there are many things that you have achieved. So I'd like to ask like what all projects or achievement you consider as your as the highlight of your profile and that you feel proud. So could you please tell us something about your projects?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I can answer. I've been really blessed in my journey. But the two things that really jump out at me, the one is the mainframe book that I co-wrote with Dr. Cameron Say, Carl Eric Stamfors, and David Boys, An Introduction to Enterprise Computing. And that is an introductory text about the mainframe for people who know little or nothing about the mainframe or who know a lot and want to augment that. But I'm also very proud of my master's degree because on November 7th, 1986, I graduated with my computer science degree. And then on November 6th, 2021, I graduated with a Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Humanities. And although it was a humanities degree, I really took the opportunity to focus on the humanity of the IBM mainframe. And I've done a lot of writing and presenting about that since. And I'm hoping to write books about the topic as well. That is certainly an area that I'm looking at moving to over time with I consider it still to be quite a young career. I'm hoping to be at it for many more decades to come.
Yeah, that would be really good if you share your expertise through your books, because especially for those who are going to pursue their career for the mainframe technology, then it would be very beneficial for them. So we are looking forward to it. Okay.
And I
And
have written a great deal already. If you want to, again, Google me up to see for
mhm.
share.org, for techchannel.com, and a number of other organizations contexts. I've written a lot already, and I intend to keep doing so.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, sure. All right. So we know that you have good experience on these technology, but I'm assuming that during your early days, you might have also faced some challenges because nowadays it's a bit tricky thing for the newcomers because they also face challenges during their initial days. So what were those challenges for you and how you managed to tackle them?
I was an early non-mainframer to the mainframe.
Okay.
Many of my colleagues, when I started on the mainframe was their first computer. But I
Mm-hmm.
had already worked on Apple computers and early IBM computers, all pre-Windows, and even some Macintosh computers. And so when I started in June of 1987 as a CICS or kick system programmer, I had to unlearn a lot of things I thought were the case with computing. I didn't even realize what a mainframe was. I thought a big Unix box was a mainframe. And so I had a lot of learning experiences just about the very different way that the mainframe does things, which is funny because it's so archetypal for all the best that other platforms do. And so learning, one of the fun things I learned is that many mainframers who've been around for a long time, when they say the letters of the alphabet, A through F for hexadecimal numbers, they don't use the words that I expected.
Right.
The international standard for the letters A through F today are Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. And I was like, why do my colleagues not use the right words? And it took me decades to realize that no matter where I went in the world, when a mainframer used the wrong words, they were always the same wrong words. Abel, Baker, Charlie, dog, easy, fox. And this is a really important part of learning for me about the whole mainframe because
Right.
those were the standard words in World War II when the mainframe culture, the people who became the founders of the mainframe culture, were learning things. And so they brought that into the culture. And there's so many things like that on the mainframe where they have their own special internal way of doing things, everything from very conscientious change control to just the fact that when you type on a terminal, the mainframe can't hear you type. It's only when you hit enter. So you can't do keyboard macros the way I was used to. And so there's a whole lot of things that really came down to not knowing how the mainframe thought, how it worked, that I would assume stuff wrong and have to learn the different way that the mainframe went about doing things because it is this massive enterprise class machine that's about processing massive, critical data for the world economy, not about being a consumer electronics machine that's about, providing satisfaction and happiness to consumers. And that's been a really interesting thing over the years because of the fact that we computer people are still humans and are still consumers rather, and want our computers to be friendlier. And so we've had this whole journey over the past few decades of getting our interfaces more and more friendly. And so I was there as we put PC 3270 and emulators and such things in place
Mm-hmm.
just to make it easier and more friendly to talk to the mainframe because the mainframe is not unfriendly, it's just not relevant to friendly, it's relevant to business.
Right, right. Yeah, here I'm completely agree with you that yes, coding standard is something that we should focus and we should take care of all the coding standard because this is something that not only impact your work but also it is impacting the entire team. Because if you are not writing your codes and everything as per the coding standard, then somehow it is impacting your entire team. So yeah, this is the best thing I would say that yes, these are the things that we should take care of. And regarding one more thing, I would like to ask here, like, what, like nowadays, there are some myths that this technology is dead, but still, there are there are many people who are doing the advanced work like you. They are modernizing the things by the time, and so still there are lots of freshers, I would say, from India also that they are looking to pursue their career for the mainframe technology. So, what piece of advice would you like to give to those members?
The simplest thing I can say is throughout human history, and certainly India has such a wonderful depth of that history. The great philosophies and religions and wisdom traditions have taught us that novelty is not normally good, and it takes until novelty becomes legacy before we know if it's any good. And that's the thing is that every computing platform that is new has not yet proven itself. In fact, the mainframe is the only computing platform that's been around so long that it can be called legacy as a compliment because it has proven itself. And like all of the great things that we consider to be wisdom, the mainframe has now been around long enough, 60 years, that we actually know that it does work. And it's not just somebody's passing idea that turns out not to be such a great idea once you've examined it from every angle. And so I think this is such an important thing to appreciate and to be aware of is that on the mainframe, we have that which runs the world economy. And part of that is the world economy was running along just fine before they invented computing, but we all knew it could be better in
Right.
terms of efficiency. Bill Gates once famously said, automating an inefficient algorithm will not make it efficient. Well,
Right.
the opposite side of that coin is automating something that is efficient with a system designed to embody its greatest strengths will make it more efficient. And that's exactly what happened, not just with the mainframe, but even with COBOL, that during the 60s and to some extent the 50s, that all the studying, all the efforts were taken to really understand what was it that runs the world economy, that runs the most important business, technology, all these things properly, pre-computing, and how could that be embodied in the very best of computing? And they succeeded. And that's the thing. They succeeded so well that there's never really been a platform that could compete with the mainframe on its strengths. They've all had to compete with things the mainframe didn't address. And so as a result, it has become the center platform for the entire world economy. But there's an old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, guess what? The mainframe is not a squeaky wheel. Somebody once said, housework is something nobody notices unless you don't do it. Well, the mainframe is like that. Nobody notices it because it works. And it has been working for 60 years so invisibly that people forget that every other platform combined just does a fraction of the importance of work that the mainframe is utterly and successfully relied on to do and will continue to do long after we're all gone.
Yeah, and like nowadays also, like there are many organizations who are using it constantly, especially in the domain of banking sector, because of its security and the high processing rate. So still, like there are many things where the mainframe is utilizing. And if we talk about if we talk about the other technology, let's say if someone is studying the mainframe, so what all other technology would you suggest them to those members to pursue along with the mainframe?
Sure, and it's important to recognize that the mainframe has not stayed still. It has stayed relevant to all of the important technological advances that we require. And so, for example, if you look at any modern language, such as Go or Python or other languages of that nature, they're available on the mainframe. And so I think it's good to study programming as programming without reference to platform.
Right.
Even before the first electronic computer, in fact, before the electromechanical computers even were created, Alan Turing, one of the parents of modern computing in the 1930s, invented theories such as the Turing machine. And he also invented the Turing test for artificial intelligence before there was artificial intelligence. So all the theory about computing laid the groundwork for computing before, 20 years before, 30 years before the first mainframe was announced on the first System 360. And so this theoretical basis for understanding computing then becomes that which we can train ourselves in without reference to platform. Now, once you've done that, then understanding the fact that the mainframe is optimized from top to bottom, from hardware to software to operating system matters. But until you've understood these concepts separately, take some programming theory, some computing theory, some computing history. And I would also say, especially on the strength of my master's degree, understand computing in the context of all of human history, because technology and computers are not other than computing. They are in their very essence, or they're not other than human, I mean to say, they're in their very essence human. And
Right.
so until you've understood their role, their place in the giant, massive, and unending history of humanity that is not focused around computing, but focused around our humanity, you don't get the fact that the mainframe and all these other platforms, they're exclusively to help us be more human, to serve us, and to help us be better at who we are and what we do, not to replace us.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, and like you have trained many person who are like maybe some of your colleague you have trained for this particular technology. So what is your observation? Like what are the I would say the areas where you think that yes, they are the newcomers are facing challenges. So like what is your observation on these points?
Yeah, so as a new mainframer, the first thing I will tell you, and this is something I was told when I first moved into mainframe, is you have a massive advantage that is invisible to almost everybody. But in fact, it's a brilliant career. That the career as a mainframer is a wonderful career that is a real career, and not just a fly-by-night job writing video games or something that
Right.
lasts for a few months or years and you're out of there. And so doing that, you want to learn, be a professional, take the attitude that you are a professional, be professional about your learning, study. There's an amazing range of resources available to you to study. There's, of course, IBM Z Explorer, as we in the Commonwealth like to say, Z Explorer. There's the Red books that IBM publishes. There's providers such as Interskill, and Interskill has always been willing to give a leg up to new mainframers in various ways to help them get advantage if they're studying on their own. There's the various things such as the user conferences. Share, for example, if you're already a student, will give you free access to Share as a student. And so there's just an incredible range, and there's an increasing number of videos on YouTube, but also the various mainframe organizations, Broadcom, IBM, Rocket, BMC, and on and on. Vanguard. All of these organizations are doing what they can to help uh, you grow the mainframe ecosystem, grow new people. I wrote a white paper in 2004 about the need to get a new generation on the mainframe. And we're still early on that journey, but at least we're on that journey. And everybody's finally putting their shoulder to that particular grindstone and pushing forward. And so, as a new mainframer, reach out to the organizations that are doing this education, that are helping people grow, that have programs such as Broadcom's Vitality Program, for example. And there's just this incredible range of activities, and reach out to the user groups. So, for example, Steve Perva has uh, uh, oh shoot, I'm forgetting a Discord server for mainframes.
Okay.
That if you go in there and can see that social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these social media have mainframe presence. Get involved in the community, and that's important because in the past, computer people have often been very shy, introverted people who just focused on the computer, and that's worked out. And you can still be successful that way. But increasingly, for people who want to take on the mainframe as a career, using your people skill is more and more important, and developing those people skills is more and more relevant. And so, although on the one hand, the average mainframer is still very much an introvert, and that's great, it does give you an advantage if you develop these other skills in order to really get in there and move forward and get really involved in a living, thriving ecosystem that is made of real people more than pretty much any other platform is. Given that everybody in the mainframe seems to know each other, and if you get involved with us, we'll know you too, and that includes, of course, also the IBM Champion and Ambassador program, and the Z or Z ambassadors. Just take a look at these opportunities, get involved. We welcome you. We want you to join us. You are our friend and colleague, and we want to make you successful.
Yeah, you are right. And I'm also agree with this, that yes, we should take the ownership first, because it's totally depend on you, like how you are taking ownership of the task. If you are interested in learning any technology, not only mainframe, if there is any other technology also, you should be consistent first of all. And you're right that nowadays, like, content is available, even the free education is there through YouTube channel, or there are many other websites, they are providing the free learning material. So everyone can go through those documents and sessions to learn the things. And I also noticed that nowadays social media is with all the groups where people are actually ready to help them. Like if you are facing some issue, you can just simply ping there, and they will analyze your problem, and they will suggest you a solution as well. Even in case of AI, like there are many, what I can say, the tools are there where you can simply ask your queries, and through that application you can get some details. So yeah, I think you are also saying that same thing, because you mentioned that free learning material is available. Language barrier is also not there, because nowadays we can easily translate late language
Mm.
that's across the world. So yeah. All right. And one more thing I would like to ask, like, in every like for every person there is some role model, right? So who is your role model, or I would say the influential person for you?
That's one of the hardest questions to answer, and it's funny because one of the cool things about the mainframe is we don't have any superstars.
Okay.
Everybody on the mainframe is technically competent at working on the mainframe. They're not, people who are famous for being famous, and so they're effectively mentors when they're a role model. And there are some amazing people, some of whom I've only known for a little while, and a good number, increasingly number of them are younger than me. I think of Rosalind Radcliffe, for example, who is, she just got recognized by Planet Mainframe as one of the leading mainframers. My comment was no list of the most important mainframers today on Earth will be complete without her on it. She's just somebody I really look up to. At the same time, I recently interviewed Greg Szabo, who was the first real mainframe role model I knew early in my career in the 1990s that I still know today. And he really provided a model for how a mainframer could be successful that really opened my mind to it being a career that was not just unidirectional, but that had so much potential to it. At the same time, I think of Dr. Fred Brooks, who led the creation of System 360 and OS 360, and he wrote two famous books. The first one, The Mythical Man Month, about the creation of OS 360, and in it he came up with Brooks' law that adding more people to a late software project will make it later. Um, but also then decades later, he wrote The Design of Design, which he wrote about the designing of the mainframe, which he described as a Platonic ideal. And yet at the same time, he falls all over himself apologizing for JCL because he says it was his fault. And so you just have these wonderful insights from people who are really human people. And so you think of people like Cheryl Watson, people like Bob Thomas and his publication, the and on and on. Many of the different past presidents of Share, such as Ann Calori. There's just so many, and every one of in so many ways, even new mainframers are people I can learn stuff from. And so that's a wonderful thing about community is that eventually everybody I get to know on the mainframe in some ways becomes a role model for me that I learn from, and hopefully it's a mutual thing. And it's such a wonderful experience of humanity that way.
Right, right. And just for my audience, I want to say that whatever the suggestion Raj has shared with us, I'm going to put the link for all the learning material, or if there are some books, I'll put in the description so that you can take a reference from it. And if there is any query, you can just simply ping in the comment, or you can reach out to us. We will try to figure out your solution for your problem if there is anything. Okay. So thank you, Raj.
Can I add two more names?
Yeah,
Or actually,
please,
three more
please.
names. Just because, no, four. Oh my goodness, four more names.
Yeah, please,
One of them
please.
is Dr. Cameron Say, my co-author for my textbook, who is just somebody that I really look up to and has been such a help in my career. Greg Lotko, who is this amazing person who's gone everywhere in IBM and then moved out to an ISV and is helping that ISV become just such or be such a great player in the mainframe with Broadcom. And oh shoot, there's at least one. Oh yeah, Meredith Stoll, who is the right hand person in so many ways to Ross Morey, who is a person in charge of mainframe at IBM. And so I just wanted to mention those four or five people by name, just because they are so important in addition to everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you for listing down all the things, and I'm going to provide all the reference link for in the description so that everyone can take a benefit from it. So thanks for mentioning it. Okay, and Reg, this question is from my side only. Like being a IBM champion, I noticed that yes, it's not that much of easy to consistent with your advocacy tasks, because there is some your professional life is also there. So how you are managing your professional work and advocacy work for IBM, because you are also an IBM champion. So how you are dealing with it?
So the one of the secrets is that I'm not an employee, I'm a consultant. And although
Okay.
I have been and am on a consulting project right now that requires 40 hours a week of my time,
Okay.
and that obviously is a top priority for me, that doesn't have to be 8 hours from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. every day. It just has to be 40 hours every week. And so what that means is when I have something like this interview, I can sort of divide my time up on the other project and have time for it. And so there's a lot of different things that I do to stay involved. But it's also the case that sometimes take a while to get around to stuff. So as a champion, I'm expected to report my activities. Sometimes I can take a month or two and just pile them all up and submit them. I know all the good folks at the IBM Champion program wish I would report more often. They understand that I am that busy. And on top of that, I also have a 5-year-old son that I have shared custody of, and he keeps me busy. And I have a 7-year-old grandson, and he keeps me busy.
Okay.
And so I'm basically busy when I'm not asleep. But it's a good energizing kind of busy, and it's stuff and people I care about. And so I think when you care about what you're doing, that's a key way to stay functional. Let me add this one additional thought, and that is that 12 years and 2 months ago, I was widowed. And that was just as my two oldest kids were in their late teens, early 20s. And it really knocked me down. And it was a hard, long journey for me to get up and functional again. And finding stuff that mattered and people that I cared about and activities that mattered got me moving. And so, really, in a lot of ways, this is my response to not wanting to get stopped by having been widowed, but to move forward in my life. That having stuff that matters, people that matter, and people that benefit from what I'm doing, give me a reason to stay functional, stay active, stay energetic, and stay looking to a very big, long future. I hope I had ahead of me.
Okay, yeah, and that's great. Okay. And other than like this question is not related to the technology, but about your other skill, like how you spend your free time, like what is your hobbies? So could you please tell us something about that?
Well, I don't precisely have free time,
Yes.
but I have joyful time. And my joyful time includes time with my son who's 5, and
Mhm.
my son who's 30, and my daughter who's 32, and my grandson who's 7, and other family and friends. I'm a person who goes to church, and that matters to me. Also, when I'm driving, I will often, listen to edifying books. As a religious person, I also spend time, doing religious activities such as prayer. And all of these things, just help me be a more complete, rounded human. And certainly that includes a lot of really good reading and regular podcasts, inspiring authors and speakers. And so, just kind of keep my life full that way. Um, and also, I'll admit, I do enjoy good food as well. And so, spending time with people I care about, having good food together and good conversation. I love good conversations. You can probably tell.
Okay, okay, yeah. And I also heard that yeah, you love traveling and you have traveled many
Yes.
places, right? So, and one more thing regarding your background itself, like, could you please tell us about this picture? I think this is the same picture that you have clicked by your own, right? The one which you are using
Uh,
as a background.
yes. Yeah. So the picture behind me, I took 19 years ago yesterday. And
Okay.
it's in what's the SIQ, the Sikh. It's a little canyon leading up to what's called the Treasury in Petra in Jordan. And basically, I had spent a week presenting at a CA event, a technology event in Eilat, which is in the southern tip of Israel. And then the last day of that, I went for a tour of Petra, a wonderful bus tour to the actual site of Petra. And it's such a neat experience. And so I took a lot of pictures of that. I have been blessed to travel a great deal, and most of it with work. Where basically my attitude is, if I'm going to go around the world with work, I'm going to make sure that I genuinely enjoy it. Have that extra day to see stuff. And so when I went to Australia, I went wine touring. When I went to Europe many times, I've seen many different things of up and down downtown Paris. Been to the Louvre many times. In London, I went to the Greenwich Observatory. The British Museum. I sent you a picture of me in front of the Rosetta Stone. That's in the British Museum. And the travel is such an edifying experience. And so all of these experiences just have really helped me grow and grow in my appreciation of the world, and not just the natural world, although that's tremendously important for us to appreciate, but also the historic and people world. And so you see that behind me, it's both the nature of the canyon and the history that treasury that you see behind me. That's 2,000 years ago that was built, and it's still there because people do stuff that lasts, just like the mainframe.
Okay, yeah, great. So, is there any plan to visit India? Because there are many historical things are there.
Yes.
So, is there any plan to visit India?
I have profound hope to visit India, and more than once. I do not yet have concrete plans, but it is certainly one of the things, and actually more than one of the things, many of the things I hope to do in the future. I have such a tremendously high regard for India. I have also taken many courses on world religions, and of course, so many world religions have either their roots in India or overlap in some important way with India, and so much other culture, including science and math. I mean, we would not have modern science and math without the role that India has contributed, not to mention technology. And so, for these and many, many more reasons, I do very much hope to spend time in India uh, on more than just one occasion during my future life.
Okay, that's great. Like we would love to have you here in India. So even like if you visit India, we will do the podcast in-person
Yes,
podcast also. Okay. So
that would be great.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So we have just five more. I'll take 5 more minutes from you. So could you please just
Sure,
tell about the future of this technology, like how you're looking at the future from mainframe?
sure. So, there are cartoons such as BC where they talk about the invention of the wheel. And it's interesting. We forget there were whole parts of the world that didn't invent the wheel. North America and South America didn't have what we call the wheel until people from outside of the Americas came here and brought the wheel. The whole concept of the wheel and watching its progress throughout history is really interesting because it was the original 360-degree invention, and it just got better and better. But if you take a look, although hovercraft exists, airplanes exist, submarines exist, none of those have superseded the wheel. It is still the ultimate form of ground-based transportation because it works so well. And again, it's the original 360-degree solution. Well, the mainframe, likewise, after 20 years of experimentation and trying various technology, after a long time of theorizing before that and during that as well, the mainframe was really the ultimate manifestation of everything we were hoping to achieve as we invented computing. And really, in so many ways, everything that happened outside of the mainframe was elaboration on the spaces the mainframe left over. And everything that happened on the mainframe continued to grow the mainframe, and it borrowed from everything else as well. And so, yeah, at the same time, you got that original architecture, that Platonic ideal that Dr. Fred Brooks talked about, that really became the foundation of the world economy. And it is such a core part of everything because it was designed to be exactly that. It was designed to be a manifestation of everything we had done throughout human history, automated by an automation solution that was designed for that set of tasks. And so as we try new things and use cell phones and the internet and all these other things and try to elaborate, experiment, and turn novelty into legacy over time, the mainframe is the one place where we've already succeeded in turning novelty into legacy in the best way possible. And so as a result, what I tell people is when you write a program on the mainframe, keep in mind your great great grandchildren may inherit maintaining it. Write it with that attitude because the mainframe is going to be around long after we're gone. And 1,000 years from now, this interview we're doing right now will be available for people to look at and better understand the
Right.
origins because this is still the time of origin that we're in right now, except we have now proven the mainframe as one of the essential foundational technologies of humanity, just like the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think now we are good and we are at the good stopping point. So thank you so much, Reg, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise. Uh, so thank you once again.
It has been my great pleasure. Thank you so much, Sharmit. I've really enjoyed this.